What's up, scholars? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite manga series of all time, Skip Beat. So Skip Beat is a shoujo series that has been published on Shoujo Beat for many years now. And it is one that I was first introduced to long ago by my sister. We actually watched the anime adaptation first, and because there was no season 2, I was devastated, and so I hopped right into the manga after that, and oh my gosh, did I fall in love with this series. This series is so unlike any other shoujo series I've ever read. It's not a typical, it is by far no way a typical romance manga. It's not even a typical coming of age story with your main characters. It's so unique and it's so different, but it makes it shine so much. The art is great and it improves as the series has gone on. There's like 48 volumes of Skip Beat so far, and the art continues to get better and better as the story goes on. And it is a beloved series by those who have read it, but many people don't even know about Skip Beat or that Skip Beat exists, and it hurts my feelings that people don't know about this manga series. Now, I know a lot of people, they are like, oh, a shoujo romance manga, that's not for me. I get it, but I would plead with you to give this one a shot, because this manga will surprise you. It is not something that you can walk into thinking it's gonna be like any other story you've read. First of all, this manga is an acting manga. There is a lot of acting involved, so you get to see these characters that we fall in love with, just them personally. You get to see them make their own roles, struggle to find different parts of themselves as they try to dive into a new character, or as they struggle to work past part of their past that they don't want to dig up, but they have to in order to get this role. And it's a really interesting way, one, to show character progression, and two, to go into the past and these backstories of our characters. But before I get off on that, we're going to be talking about the first 3 volumes of Skip Beat. This is a compact, this is a 3-in-1 volume. So all 3 are in this one book. And the first 3 volumes cover up through the 17th act, and instead of chapters, because this is a acting manga, they're called acts. So acts 1 through 17 is from volumes 1 through 3, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It'll be an overview. My main goal with this review and to talk about Skip Beat is to get people interested, to get people hooked, because I want to talk about Skip Beat with so many people. I want more people to fall in love with this manga the same way I have. So that is what we're going to do. There might be some minor spoilers of what happens in the first 3, but I'm not going to talk about everything. I just want to give you a brief overview of what you can look forward to this. And as this series continues, of course, as you get into the further volumes, there will be no way not to spoil anything. So if you want to read and tag along for this adventure, I will be doing Skip Beat hopefully at least once a month through this year. So come along for the ride that I'm going to do on this Skip Beat series. So Skip Beat follows the story of Kyoko Mogami. She is a 16-year-old girl, but she is not in high school. She actually left her hometown to follow her childhood friend to Tokyo to help him pursue his dreams of becoming a singer, of becoming a star. And because he asked her to go with him, she drops everything and goes with him to Tokyo. And the first act, pretty much chapter 1, gives you the life of Kyoko as it is. She is working 2 to 3 jobs to try to afford rent and try to afford living in Tokyo so that she can stay in this super expensive apartment with Sho. And Sho is her childhood best friend, the man that she is just absolutely head over heels in love with. She devoted her life to him. She gives everything for Sho. Everything is about Sho. She puts herself on the back burner. Anything that she wants always comes second. until she finds out that Sho is absolute trash. This man is absolutely a piece of garbage. Kyoko catches him saying that he basically brought her to Tokyo so she could be his housemaid because he doesn't really care about her. He just knows that she will do whatever he wants, and that's the only reason why he asked her to join him in Tokyo. This man is trash. Absolute utter garbage. And Kyoko, once she discovers that Sho has said this about her, it unlocks this utter rage inside of her. And instead of crying and moping about the way Sho has used and betrayed her, she gets angry instead and swears her revenge against Sho to tell him basically that I will prove to you that you should have never used me. So yes, this is a revenge story. And to get her revenge, Kyoko decides to go into show business. She wants to get on the same level as Sho. And to do this, she scouts out all these different talent agencies and lands at the agency LME. And she meets Sawara-san, who is the head of the talent section of LME agency. And he humors her for a minute, and when he figures out that she has no direction, she's just there to be there, he promptly kicks her out with the help of Ren. And this is when we get formally introduced to Tsuruga Ren. Ren is a professional actor and he takes acting seriously, so he sees somebody who wants to get into show business for pretty much no reason at all and utterly despises Kyoko for it. So he helps Sawara kick her out. But because Kyoko is so determined, she is persistent and she is dead set on getting into LME to get this audition, she finds a way. Poor Sawara-san, you're gonna have to read it if you want to learn what she does to him, the poor man. She convinces Sawara to give her an audition, to grant her a place in the audition, and so she auditions for LME and ends up failing. This is another thing I like about this manga because it is not an automatic success story. Kyoko fails, and she fails hard because the president, whom we are formally introduced to at this audition, he is a very, very flashy man. Uzui would be proud. He is a flashy man, very dramatic, but this president, while he is intrigued with Kyoko, he recognizes automatically that she is missing something vital in order to be in show business, and that is love. And when Sawara takes Kyoko aside after she fails and explains to her that in order to be in show business, you have to love and want to be loved. And that breaks Kyoko's resolve. That breaks her down as she realizes her entire purpose now is full of hatred. There's revenge. There's no place for love in her heart. It gets to a point where she ends up having a breakdown over it and is mad at Sho because she blames him with her whole being that it's his fault that she's lost this vital human emotion because of what he did to her. This whole situation with Kyoko not wanting to be loved, she doesn't want any love in her life because she has seen what love has done to her in the past and she wants no part of it anymore. And she goes through this setback because of it. Decides, well, maybe show business isn't for me. Maybe I was getting my hopes up. There's no way I would have been able to get in the same place as Sho in the first place. I'll just go get a regular job. And she tries, and because of another encounter she has with Sho, and he doesn't even recognize her, that hatred gets lit, and she is fueled once again to try to basically bring Sho to his knees and have him apologize to her. And I love this part too because it's not just her revenge against Sho that fuels her, this hatred. There's also, I really love the relationship she has with Taisho and Okami-san, who run Daruyama, the shop that she is staying at and currently living and working at. And Taisho goes in because he has seen how distraught Kyoko is through this whole thing, and he's the one who goes in and kind of gives her this pep talk. He is a very like tough love type of character, but boy, is his and Kyoko's relationship really interesting to watch, because it is definitely like a father-daughter relationship, and the relationship Kyoko has with the Okami-san is also like a mother-daughter relationship, which we learn in the first three volumes that Kyoko has mom issues. We don't get a lot of what issues that is, but from what the tidbits we get in the first 3 volumes, we can see there was a lot of neglect from Kyoko's mom, and that lack of parental figure is replaced by Taisho and Okami-san, and they actually help get Kyoko back on her feet and bring that determination back for her to try again. And that is when Kyoko actually succeeds to get into LME, because the president has already come up with this entire scheme, because of course that's just the type of man he is, because he sees the potential in Kyoko but knows she lacks that vital emotion, but he doesn't want to throw away a diamond in the rough. So he's like, okay, if she comes back, we're gonna set this program into place. And when Kyoko comes back, we are introduced to the section that she will be in, and it's called the Love Me section. Very on the nose, kind of humiliating, and to accompany the humiliating name are bright pink uniforms to go with it, as if Kyoko didn't struggle enough as it was with wanting attention on her and wanting people to like her. The goal of the Love Me section is for Kyoko to want to be loved and to be loved in return. That's the whole goal of it, because that's what she's lacking. And 2 of the people in on this is Sawara-san and Rin. Tsuruga Rin, the person that despises Kyoko for her reasons, because she actually ended up admitting in an encounter with him that her whole purpose to be in show business was for revenge, and he hates that. But those 2 know about the program, and Rin sets Kyoko up on her first job. She doesn't even realize it's her first job. She's just kind of thrown into it off rip. And he sets her up to fail the first time. And when she realizes she was set up and she got negative points for it, that fuels her hatred for Rin even more. In the first 3 volumes specifically, there's definitely that enemies to lovers feel. But it is a slow burn. And when I say slow burn, I mean slow burn. Kyoko and Rin definitely don't get off on the right foot, and Kyoko struggles a lot with her first initial tasks in the Love Me section, because she just doesn't understand the purpose of it. She is bitter and angry and just doesn't enjoy any of the work at all. And that is when she is approached by Ruriko, a idol and a singer, and Ruriko hates Kyoko, unbeknownst to Kyoko, because Ruriko sees the Love Me section as a place to curry favor in order to get a debut when you're not even talented. So Ruriko enlists Kyoko for help in order to set Kyoko up to fail. So Kyoko's really going through it in the first 3 novels. It's not going well for her. But she ends up going with Ruriko to an acting set, gets injured along the way because of Ruriko, and ends up getting helped by none other than Rin, unwillingly, and there's a panel where Rin has to pick her up because she can no longer walk because she hurt her foot, and the utter terror on Kyoko's face is just hilarious. She does not want to be held by him. She does not even want to be carried by him, and she's just like, why of all people does it have to be you to show up here? But this attention from Rin causes more anger from Ruriko, because Ruri likes Rin. There's a lot of messy drama in here, but it's so good. And Ruri basically makes it her job to humiliate Kyoko. And she does this by challenging Kyoko to an acting test. when Kyoko has never acted before, and Ruriko is throwing a fit, so she's like, fine, you think anybody can do it? Have her do it. But Kyoko never backs down from a challenge. She straight up's like, fine, you think I can't do it? I will prove to you that I can do it. It can't be that hard. So Kyoko ends up in this acting test, and this is where we start to see some of Kyoko's true grit, determination, and personality come to life. And while a lot of this is fueled by her anger at Ruriko at the time, there's a lot of truth behind the way she does things, the way she presents herself, and this determination to act starts to stem from a personal desire to want that, which is something she's never had in the past. And part of the acting test is a scene where she has to do a tea ceremony, and in order for her to sit properly to do something that would severely hurt her already fractured leg, but Kyoko decides to go for it. She does not care that her leg is already injured. She is already determined to do this test, and nothing is going to stop her despite everyone's warnings not to do it. Which, hats off to her guts for that. And there are 2 panels that show right before they call action on the scene, and she's bent over, she's sweating, trembling, trying to ignore the pain in her foot. And you see this internal monologue of hers as she starts to think of her past, of what could possibly help her get through this situation. And she's like, a customer is in front of me. I cannot show how bad I feel. And that determination flips a switch in Kyoko. And the next page, you see her, as soon as they call action, she sits up straight and puts on a smile as if she doesn't have a fractured foot. I love Kyoko in this manga. She is such an awesome female lead. And also in that moment, that is the first time Rin acknowledges her. He acknowledges the guts and tenacity that she has to go through with a scene, to act with everything she has despite being so injured. And because he sees that, he decides to take her seriously, and he acts seriously with her, unlike what he was doing with Ruriko. He wasn't taking her seriously, but Kyoko, even though he despises Kyoko, the actor part of him can't help but take her serious. It's a great scene, and of course Kyoko ends up having to go to the hospital because she ends up passing out. That makes her end up lose the acting test, along with some other things. But as devastating as it is that she lost, she's actually glad she lost, because 1, she learned a lot from it, and 2, she's realized that acting isn't so simple, but it's something she has this desire to do. And the first part of that realization comes from her kind of having this mental block of realizing all the things that she did good at in this acting test was because of what she learned growing up due to Sho's family. It was all for him, or for his family. And Kyoko realizes in that moment that everything that she had done in her life, she had done for someone else. It was to make someone else happy. It was never to make her happy. Nothing she had ever done before was for her. And the second part of that realization comes when Kyoko realizes the first thing she really wants to do, besides get revenge on Sho, she wants to be able to act on equal footing as Rin, as Tsuruga. And that is the first time we get to see this desire of hers, something she truly wants, come and buds to life. And it was all because she tried to do something just purely out of revenge, but got something else out of it. And this little small bud of determination leads Kyoko to continue pursuing acting. The end of this volume brings about another Love Me member who is added to the section, Kotonami-san, or as Kyoko calls her, Moko. She calls her Moko a lot. Kotonami is someone Kyoko met at the auditions, and they did not get along at the auditions. It was not good. Kotonami is actually very similar to Kyoko in the way that she also does not have any desire to be loved and she faked her entire audition, which proves that she's a great actress. But because she faked her entire audition and didn't feel a thing, the president decided to put her in the Love Me section, which Kotonami despises, absolutely despises, until the president is around, and then she acts like it's the best thing ever. It's kind of hilarious. So when Kyoko realizes that Kotonami is kind of in the same boat as her, even though Kotonami tries to deny being in the Love Me section and run away from it, Kyoko is not having any of it. She's like, no, you're stuck here with me. We're in the same boat now, buddy. You're gonna stay here. It's so funny. It is also the beginning of their budding friendship, and I think is so fun. But the two of them end up going to a training school that LME hosts on the behalf of the president, because the president actually has a request for them to deal with his granddaughter, who is causing a whole mess of the training school because of the story that they are doing. And that is where we are formally introduced to Maria, the President Lori's granddaughter, and she and Kyoko hit it off just like that. They become best buds right off the bat. It comes to realize that Maria feels guilty because of something that happened to her mother, and because of that guilt, because of that anger that Maria holds, she is taking it out on everybody else at this training school, because the story that they're telling she thinks is unrealistic, and she just despises it. And Kyoko ends up playing into Maria's anger and accepts it. She's like, yeah, you're right, this doesn't make any sense. Which prompts the girls at the training school to be like, well, then you play it out to make it make sense, type of thing. And it gets to the point where Kyoko ends up taking part of this training school to play out this unreasonable part, but to play it in her own way to make it more believable. The end of chapter 17 is basically Kyoko just using all of her acting with a lot of her own personal feelings by saying, yes, your father hates you. That's how it ends. And the last bit of chapter 17, we get to see a little bit more around Kyoko's relationship with her own mother, and that fuels her acting quite a bit in the way she responds to the training and the dialogue in it, and is the reason why she says a parent can hate their own child. That doesn't tell you what her relationship with her mother is. I don't know what will. That is just the first 3 volumes of Skippy. There are like I said, there's 48 volumes of this manga so far. It is fantastic. The first 3 volumes are a bit fast-paced, but it's to establish the story, it's to get everything set up, and it's to introduce you to the main cast of characters that we deal with most of the time. That would be Kyoko, Rin, Sho, Yashiro, Kotonami, President Lori, and Maria. Those are all recurring characters that the story has a lot of content on, and the story introduces all of them very quickly but very well to get an establishment of these characters, so that moving forward, as we unfold more about these characters, it slows down and takes its time. The rest of the story isn't as fast-paced as the first 3 volumes are. The first 3 volumes can be fast-paced, so if you do enjoy fast-paced stuff, you will just blow through the first 3 volumes like it's nothing. If you enjoy slower-paced stuff, that's good too, because as you get further into Skippy, it slows down, it starts to take its time, and it gets further into the minds of these characters, what their thoughts are, their feelings, and explores every bit of it. I love it so much. So the reason I think this manga is so good, because you have an awesome female lead. Kyoko is a fantastic main character to follow. She is vibrant, she's funny, she is full of so many different emotions. She's very expressive, but also she's very serious about things. She takes things to heart. She contemplates a lot of things, thinks about so much, and she just grows and grows and grows throughout this story. Like these first 3 volumes is literally just her beginning. It's her starting point, and it only gets better from here. And the story isn't a typical well, you're always going to succeed. There are setbacks in this story. There are very, very serious topics that get brought up in this story regarding family relationships, regarding people's past, abuse, stalking, and relationships in general, of how you treat other people, the way other people treat you affect the way you see yourself, affect the way you do things. And within all of that, since it is an acting manga, you get to see Kyoko take every bit of her experience and use it for her benefit, use it to help her grow into this actress that she starts to want to become. So if anything, I could sell the series on Kyoko alone, with her just being an awesome main character and to see her grow throughout the series. But that's not the only thing that's amazing about this series. The comedy in this series is hilarious. Not only is Kyoko is hilarious just in general. She is a funny character. Her expressions, her reactions, they are hilarious, and I love to see how she responds to other characters, to situations. And some of the moments are just so like on the nose that a lot of, you've seen these types of scenes in other mangas or other animes, and they don't really acknowledge what happens outside of that moment. But in Skip Beat, they do. Like, Kyoko is having this whole monologue and she's laughing maniacally in her room, and it shows in a panel that next door, Okami and Taisho are just like, you hear Kyoko in her room, right? Like, her laughing is kind of scary. It acknowledges those parts of it and actually thrives off of that type of comedy, and I love it so much. One of the best parts of the comedy, which is its own little section, because the people who have read Skippy kind of acknowledge this as its own thing, and that is the grudge Kyoko's. The grudge that she has for Sho or for Rin or anybody who does her wrong or makes her angry. There are these grudges that come out of her body, and the illustrations that show it are always so hilarious, and it's perfect. And the grudge Kyokos like have their own personality, they have their own conversations, and it's a whole part of the story that gets acknowledged and it's accepted as canon, that people can see like the effects of these grudge Kyokos even if they can't see them itself. But it's like, people can always be like, oh, well, it kind of feels chilly in here. There's like this strange aura in the air. And it's Kyoko. So the comedy in this is just perfect. The panels, the drawings, they're really good. The comedy is always very well timed too. But another thing that's really good about this manga is the revenge plot. I love a good revenge story, and Kyoko is someone you can root for so easily because you just see what utter garbage Sho is and how he's treated her and what he did to her. It makes rooting for Kyoko, one, so easy and so much fun. You want to see Sho fail and Kyoko win. But also this revenge plot takes on a new form as Kyoko starts to discover herself in it, and it just evolves as the series goes on, and it is just brilliant. There is also romance in this manga, as it is a shoujo. There is romance involved. It is a slow burn, and it's got, and especially in the first 3 volumes, if you read it you'll know what I'm talking about. It's got the enemies to lovers feel to it in the first 3 volumes, and not between Kyoko and Sho, no, between Kyoko and Rin, just to clarify. But it is a slow burn because the primary goal of this manga isn't romance, it's Kyoko. It is for Kyoko to learn how to love again, and not just in a romance sense, to learn to love others again, to learn to want to be loved by others, and that self-love and appreciation to grow into. That is the main focus of this manga. The romance is just part of it. It's on the side, and I love that so much because I have issues with romance mangas and romance shows in general when things happen so fast And it's like, oh, well, boom, they're together. And it's like, no. I love slow burns. I love a good slow burn. Or if they get together early, there has to be a reason. It has to make sense. And you have to see it develop from there. And Skip Beat kind of has the same thing. The romance is on the side because there's so many other things in the forefront that are focused on, but it makes any romance that could potentially happen would feel so much more satisfying should it happen, because you've seen the growth Kyoko has been through. Because when you read the first 3 volumes, off the top of your head, you know Kyoko's not ready for a relationship. You know she does not belong in a relationship. Because one, she has no love left in her heart at the moment. Her heart has been scorned. It has been ripped apart. And she just has a lot of hate and anger. And there's a lot of bitterness inside of her. She wants nothing to do with love. So romance is the furthest thing from her mind. So in my next Skippy video, I might be doing either 4, 5, and 6 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I might be either doing 3 volumes or 6 volumes, depending on how my reread goes and how I want to split these up because of the arcs that are coming up within the next few volumes. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to split it up yet, but it'll either be 3 or 6 volumes that you'll be getting in the next Skip Beat video, and we can talk about the plot more in detail. Now that the overview of Skip Beat is kind of out of the way, we can talk about the plot in more detail next time, which I personally am going to be very excited about because the plot just gets so much better from here. It just continues to get so good. So that is my overview, my review of the first 3 volumes of Skip Beat, and this is why I think, why I think everybody would actually really enjoy this manga series. It's not as action-packed as shonens are or other types of manga are, but it is very good. There are scenes in here that just rack your brain as you're reading along. You get the emotions in this manga. You get excited for the characters, sad for the characters, happy for them. You go through a whole range of emotions while reading this manga. And it's just such a very well-written manga, and one that I think more people should give a chance. At least give it a chance. If you read it and it's not for you, then that's fine. But don't look at Skip Beat and automatically assume it's going to be like every other shoujo you read. I would implore you to at least give it a chance, because it is a well worth series to read. And if you're not as big on manga reading, or you just kind of want to see if you would like reading it, you can watch the anime first. There's a lot that the anime cuts out of the first few volumes. There's a whole lot the anime cuts out, but if you want to see if you would like it and then see if you want to go to the manga from the beginning and read, watch the anime. It's on Crunchyroll. I would watch it. If you decide you like it, if you don't want to start reading it at first, watch it. If you like it, then start reading from the beginning. But with that, thank you all so much for watching this video with me. I'm hoping to do more Skip Beat videos. I'm very excited to do this series on Skip Beat because it holds such a special place in my heart. It is my favorite manga to date. I just adore Kyoko. She's such a great female lead, and is a character I resonate with personally and very deeply. I don't know what that says about me, but I adore Kyoko. She has a special place in my heart. So I hope to see you all in my next videos, and I will see you soon, scholars.